Welcome to the With Clarity and Purpose podcast with your host, Yanet Borrego. Each week, I bring you an inspiring person or message to empower you to live life on your terms so you can be who you want to be, do what you are meant to do, and have the life you deserve to have. We will provide you with practical and cutting-edge approaches to continue getting clarity and direction on your path, mastering your mindset, and gaining confidence to tap into your inner wisdom so you can live on purpose. Welcome to another episode of the With Clarity and Purpose podcast. And today I am super mega excited because I have a super special guest, my amazing friend. And she was also my coaching client. I had the honor to coach her, Aileen Hirsch. And who is Aileen Hirsch? She's a multi-passionate professional. She's a Latina and mindset coach and speaker, founder of Open Delta Company. Her purpose is elevating and transforming the Hispanic Latinx community and helping them embody self-mastery and work through fear to achieve their fullest potential. What a beautiful mission and vision. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing ecstatic. So happy to be here. How are you doing, Janet?
Me too. I'm so excited to be here. And even before we started recording this podcast, we were sharing our intentions to show up grounded. And both of our intentions was having fun and serving the community. So I think that was so powerful.
Yes,
I love
I'm
it.
excited to be here. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited for this conversation.
Of course, I'm super excited. For those listening, I've been thinking of bringing Aileen for the longest time, and I know this is not gonna be our last podcast interview or last conversation that we share with all of you, because every time I talk to her, every time we have a combo, is pure gold. So it deserves to be shared with the world and with all of you. So how did I meet Aileen, right? So I met Aileen, oh my God, when I was transitioning from my first corporate job or corporate company, from my first corporation to my second one, which was from ExxonMobil to Accenture. And we had a coffee because someone within ExxonMobil, he spoke highly of her as a leader, as a mentor, and as a professional. And I was like, I have to meet her. So we had coffee, and then we kind of like exchanged some conversations while being at Accenture, but we were not that close. And then when I quit my corporate job in 2021 to become a full-time speaker and coach, I had the honor to coach Aileen because she became my coaching client. So Aileen, thank you so much for that, because you were a huge part of my transition from corporate to entrepreneurship.
And I want to point out two things. When we met at that coffee shop, we had never seen each other other than like getting introduced. I think you sent me a message on like LinkedIn or something. And so walking into the coffee shop, I remember us kind of, are you Janet? Are you Aileen? And then instantly, I know we had an amazing conversation. And then when you were about to leave Accenture, when you were going full time in your business, I don't know if you remember that I told you, give me a couple of months. I am wrapping up my master's. Like, I don't have capacity to work on myself more, and I want to work with you. And then, a couple of months later, I don't remember how many, then we started working together, and it's been a beautiful journey and has blossomed into friendship and other things that I'm excited to talk more.
I'm so excited. And now that you're making me remember all these details, I remember in our coffee conversation, my main concern was, do you think Accenture is going to be fine? Because I have my master practitioner of neurolinguistic programming training coming up, and it's 2 weeks. And I need to be there. I need to take that vacation. And you just finished yours. So congrats. That's exciting.
It's full circle. I just finished mine in July. And when you described it as I'm gonna do this, and I hope Accenture is okay with it.
That sounds more like me.
And it was one of the most life-changing trainings, like most life-changing 2 weeks that I've ever experienced. And so I'm happy that I wasn't just listening to the, hey, this woman is going to be very passionate about going to this training for the next 2 weeks, but that, you introduced me to that topic that now it's near and dear to my heart. And I know that that has completely changed my life to the person that I was when we had that initial conversation at the coffee shop.
I love that so much. And for those listening, we are talking about one of our neuro-linguistic programming certifications, which is one of the main skills. And we have like 100+ techniques and tools to work with our coaching clients to help them reprogram their subconscious mind so that aligns with their conscious desires and they can actually achieve results and achieve their desired outcomes. So I just wanted to provide that clarity for those who don't know about NLP. So let's go back to 2021 when we started working together. And I always have this question for people because for me, one of the things that changed my life, my journey, and finding my purpose was taking the responsibility to find who I am and create and carve the path of who I want to be, aka investing in myself. And honestly, that's not super common because what I've found out is that a lot of people in corporate, right? And I've worked 90% of my clients are in corporate, but often, and I was in corporate, so often the professionals rely on the career to provide all the tools for all their aspirations. And with you, I saw something different because you decided to take a bet in yourself, invest in yourself, a part of your career, and also work with a coach. I was your first coach, right?
Yeah.
With a coach for the first time. So one, how was that mindset shift for you and what allowed you to ask for help and ask for coaching?
So I think when I knew about your work, I honestly didn't know much about what you were doing. I didn't know much about NLP. However, we going back to that point, we really connected that one time. And so I knew that we had some sort of connection. And we, even from just knowing your story, what you have been through in your path, I was like, she gets my story, whether that it's a first gen, that it's taking care of your parents. And so we had a lot of connection points that to me just instantly built rapport. And second of all, I was in a low point in my life. I was having a rough time having a relationship with my dad, and that my dad has always been one of my best friends, has always been there to support me. And so having that change and dynamic in my family was just shaking up my world, and I did not know how to deal with it in a positive way. And so the things that I was doing in the past weren't working. And so I saw this as an opportunity of, I have no idea if Janet's going to be able to help me, but I'm going to give this a shot. I've never invested in myself. I've never invested at this level because it was weekly coaching. You having a coaching container, it can be an intense. And that meant that not only had I had to show up every week to the call, but there's things that happen in between. And so if we don't have that accountability by a coach, then, there has to be some sort of other way. But I was just in such a low point that I was like, anything that happens in my mind, I said to myself, like, it can't get any worse because we're already in the lowest. So it just can go up from here. And so I think that was one of the things that made me and felt very comfortable with investing in a coach. And I know a lot of people are in partnerships, boyfriends, husband, fiances, whatever might be the case. And I remember having that conversation with Rocky, which at that time, I think we were dating, we weren't even engaged. And I was like, I need this. Like, I need some sort of support because I'm just going through it right now. And so I'm very happy that I was very confident on I need this. How am I going to pay for it? How like everything's going to work out? I have no idea. But it was having the first step on knowing that the universe was going to respond to me, and just, you know, piece by piece, everything started aligning, and it was one of the best decisions.
That's so beautiful. And I love how in your journey, Aileen, because here's the thing, everyone. She started with me, but she has continued even after we coached together on investing in herself. But your journey reminds me of mine, where I went to my first personal development event. It was Tony Robbins because I was in pain. But after that, I realized how much value investing in yourself, like the return is infinite. And then you continue the journey of investing in yourself, but not from a place of pain anymore, but from a
Mm-hmm.
place of growth and evolution. What are your thoughts around it? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, no, totally. It to me it gave me a glimpse of it can be this good. And that just changed my perspective of, if it can be this good, why have I been feeling like this for so long? And so I think it's just been a spiraling effect upwards of, I want to continue feeling good, and let's see how good it can get. And so one of my biggest personal growth that has I have experienced in the past, it's that I know we didn't touch in our coaching too much, but it was like feeling worthy of love, feeling worthy that you can be cared for. And that is a gift that I have been able to experience from a relationship standpoint. Like now, I think it's a privilege to be married and being in love, and having a supportive marriage. And so it's like it can get that good, but we're sometimes so stuck in the old stories that unless you get a glimpse of it can actually be good, it can actually be easy, it can actually come naturally, it's one of those things that you're like, okay, let me go after it. And so I think it's been a beautiful journey. And I can share with you that yesterday I found a picture of when my dad came to visit us. We went to a baseball game, and it was just a very casual picture that I took of, it was me and my dad in front of the stadium. And I sent it to him, and I was like, hey, found this. This happened a year ago. And he put it as like his profile picture on WhatsApp. And I just like felt so blessed that I know 2 3 years it was as bad as it can get. And now it can get this good. And I can have beautiful conversations with my dad. And I sent him a picture, and I know it meant so much to him that he even put it in his profile picture. And so
Oh,
it's those things that make your heart so happy that it's just, overflowing with love.
I'm so proud of you, honestly. And there is this pattern that I've realized with a lot of, the females I coach and with myself, is this process of forgiving our parents. Because, sometimes immigrants or first gen or second gen, like we don't have, like our life is not comparable to others necessarily, but
Yeah.
that's what has made us who we are. So I love that you went through that healing, through that beautiful journey, and look where you are now in your relationship. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And I saw a beautiful video the other day that it's like, forgiving your parents means that you accept that this is the first time of them being parents. And I just thought it was so true, because I mean, you're an only child. And so
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this is your mom's only
this is
shot
it.
of being a mother, whether good or bad, everything in between. And even though I have an older brother, Elio, I mean, this is overall my parents' first time of being parents. And so I think having compassion overall for you, whatever you're going through, your parents, whatever they've been going through, they did the best with the resources that they did at the time. And now that we recognize old patterns, we recognize how we were, we recognize how we reacted, and choosing to course correct, it's, I think, to me, the beautiful gift that we can have together.
I think that's really powerful, because when we forgive our parents, we let go of that energy and we have more energy to create like the business or to attract more abundance, more happiness, more fulfillment. So I think that's really powerful. So we have talked about coaching, and honestly, some listeners may be like, yeah, I've heard about coaching, but I don't know even what a coach is. And we both are coaches. So, and you coach with me too. So, and you have coached with other coaches too. How would you describe in simple terms? Because coaching, like consulting, can be kind of abstract for some people, and you
Yeah.
don't necessarily know what to expect in the beginning. You can only see the results from other people. So how would you describe coaching, and what was your transformation before and after coaching?
I think how I would describe coaching is a practice that you can be part of. And when you are in a coaching relationship, your coach will take you as far as you'll let them with the map of, the navigation. It's all about you. It's you. It's a very you-centered approach that it's taking you step by step, level by level. And depending on what kind of coaching it is, it can be for your self-discovery, it can be business coaching, it can be relationship coaching. I know there's like marriage coaches. So like whatever that treasure map that you're trying to find, they're going to help you get there. And a lot of the times people think I can do that on my own. And I think that's super fair. I think anyone can do anything because we have all the resources within us. But I think factor in community, factoring a coach knows how to get your results faster. And in the line of work that we work is reprogramming your unconscious mind to work with your conscious mind. Unconscious is where sustainable change, where all the learning happens. And so embedding that into the process that where we can help you get there for life is it's rewiring your brain. It's one of the beautiful gifts that we have been able to work. You have been working in this, I don't even know how many years now.
Since 2012, when my uncle gave me my first NLP book in Spanish.
So what is that? 11 plus years
Yeah,
of
11 plus
you
years. Yeah.
working on this. And so I think that is the beautiful gift of a coach. I personally love the concept of coaching because a lot of times we receive coaching from our parents, right? Growing up, our parents are big coaches. They try to get us to where we need to be. But I think parents sometimes can be too nice. And I think a coach has the beautiful gift of pushing you past your boundaries, that it's getting you out of that comfort zone into the learning soul and into the growth zone. And so I think more often than not, because our parents love us, they try to keep us comfortable and they like nudge us a little bit, but they don't nudge us enough for us to actually take the leap and take those steps. And so your coach has your best interest in mind. And this is something as a coaching client that I received and as a coach. And I think that's the beautiful gift that a relationship will allow you to nurture the parts of you that you are letting yourself grow into that person. And I'm a entirely different person. And so I think taking action into a coaching relationship has been one of the biggest permissions that I've allowed myself to do, because I don't think my parents have ever had coaches before. And so
Yeah, our
it's,
parents were in survival mode. We have the pleasure, thanks to our
yeah,
parents, to invest in all these amazing people and tools. So very grateful for that. And
yeah.
I love what you said about coaching. And I think the beauty of a coach also is that it points out your blind spots in a nurturing way, because even our parents have blind spots that they project onto us. Honestly, a coach, if you're doing really coaching, you're supposed to coach the individual on how to think, not what to think. Because the whole purpose of coaching is allowing you to recognize that you have all the resources, you have all the answers within yourself. Like Aileen mentioned, you just don't know how to get there. So the coach enables you to get there and get the results you're seeking by utilizing your own resourcefulness. So I think that's a beautiful answer, Aileen.
And I think another thing that I love about coaching, that there's a lot of intrusive thoughts that we get when we're about to take action, we're about to have the big conversation, whenever there's something that either you fear, you doubt yourself, and you have those intrusive thoughts. And I think a coach is not afraid to call you out on your BS. And
Totally.
so I think that's something that I value a lot, just because there's been a lot of times in my life that people are not willing to tell me the hard things because they don't want to hurt me. They don't want to tell me something and then makes me feel differently about them. And I think a coach knows that their job is to get you your results. And if that means hard coaching, they're going to give you the hard coaching because they are concerned about your well being, but they're not thinking and overthinking about your feelings. Because the point of a coach is not worried about your feelings. If you want to worry about your feelings, go to your journal. But a coach is there to push the button that's going to make you take the next step. And I think that is something that I used to take for granted, and I thought I could do it on my own. And sometimes I can, but the majority of times I think it's better have someone tell me and me sit with those feelings and emotions that evoke something differently within me.
I love that so much because most of the time we are the ones getting in our own way. And like you said, we all know this. Like we sell ourselves short all the time. And the coach, like Aileen mentioned, is there to let you know when you're selling yourself short because it wants you to get to where you want to be in a safe way, of course, in a kind and safe way, but direct and assertive at the same time.
Yeah.
I love that. So something that we worked on while we were coaching was building your amazing side coaching business while you are working a 9 to 5 business. And I remember celebrating your first 2 clients. Like later on, we worked a lot on this challenge of being seen to. First of all, tell us about your journey of like 9 to 5 now having a side coaching business. What is your why? What is the purpose? What motivated you to do that? And what are the biggest challenges maybe that we work through that we are still evolving on, of course, but we work through that you have seen the most growth, like the fear of being seen, like we had talked about before.
Yeah. So the journey started long time ago. However, where I think I remember it being significant was in college. I was doing a lot of mentoring, a lot of speaking. I was president and very much involved in different student organizations. And so I always had this innate nature of serving, of wanting to help people. In the capacity in college was professional development, resumes, how to interview, and all of that fun stuff to get. We're both engineers by trade, getting students engineering jobs at different companies. And so I think the aspect of service was always within me, and it really motivated, it really excited me. It was just so energetically satisfying to me. And so when I was introduced to coaching, I was very interested in it because this was a way not only to help, in my mind, like, oh, this, I'm doing all this to help people get jobs, which granted, this is what has helped my family get social upward mobility. Salary of an engineer is very different to earning. My dad used to earn like $50,000 a year. So like the difference that it makes having an engineering degree and education has just skyrocketed my opportunities. And because I was in such a bad spot emotionally, me as a person, I wanted to help again in a different capacity to my community. And so now I didn't want to help people necessarily like get jobs and go from student to professional, but it was how can we help first gens like myself, the Hispanic community, get to a better place where they're more comfortable with their identity so they show up the way that they want to show up and they can like honestly love themselves. Because we talk about self-love practices and we talk about bubble baths and affirmations, but I think those all are external and they're not changing anything within us. And so I really wanted to get the knife and start peeling the onion piece by piece, like I had to do for myself, so that people actually love themselves to the core. They could honestly find their purpose and live by what they want, what means something to them. and align either their career or what they're doing in whatever facet of their life to what lifts them up inside. And so I think I didn't know I wanted to transition into this until we started working together, and you supported me through that process on this is step A, this is step B, this is step C, until, you know, we built the program. I had clients that went through the program. I actually helped result transformation stories. And so I think that was the journey from a coaching side, from a business side. And where we hit the most roadblocks was a big part of business is marketing. And when you are marketing as a coach, you are the service. You are the face. You are the one that people want to see and they want to learn from. And so I had a terrible fear of being seen. I was terrified. Like I don't remember if you have situations where you just I couldn't hit record, I couldn't hit post. I had incredible anxiety because, you know, one of the things one week was like, you're gonna post every X amount of times. And I would create the stories within myself of why I shouldn't post, why it wasn't good enough, why is this not good
What were
content.
those stories for? Because we can all resonate with that. So your story is powerful. So what were the stories you were telling yourself?
I mean, I was just having that on repeat on why I wasn't good enough, because who was I to be posting that? Like, ¿quién se cree? And to me, the funniest thing is that it was just me versus me.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a comment that someone said, hey, ¿quién se cree? It was literally me versus me, and me having that anxiety when you have the Instagram post made and clicking share. And so I remember at one point you were like, okay, girl, you don't have to show your face. This week you just post quotes, or you just post a picture of a coffee, or, you know, whatever. You don't have to show your face. Girl, I still had the anxiety of having my thought leadership out there. And so it was a rough year in terms of that. And when it came to doing a panel discussion for Latinos in engineering, I had no problem getting the microphone and getting out there. When there was a speaker opportunity to speak in front of like 200 students to talk about leadership and mindset, I created the presentation and delivered it, and I got really amazing feedback. So it was specifically showing up in social media, Instagram, something that was going to be essentially in the internet forever.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the biggest issue, that it wasn't that it wasn't just like fear of being seen. There were a lot of underlying patterns and stories that I had been telling myself since I was like 4 years old. That
Totally.
were now surfacing. And it was until we went there, we went deeper, that I hadn't had the courage to do on my own, to figure out, okay, this is what's happening actually in your unconscious mind, that it's being presented this way, that Instagram's not the problem. It's all the patterns underneath, and it's showing up in this way because you can't post. That's how the red flag is showing up.
I love that so much. And I remember a conversation we had. I don't remember what prompted the conversation, but it was about external validation, about the likes. And in my mind, I'm like, I mean, look at Eileen's Instagram. She had way better engagement than me. Like, she doesn't have that issue of not of not receiving likes or viewers. But I think part of it, of the social media, that is also intimidating for people, and it has been for me, is that you receive that immediate feedback. You receive that immediate feedback of the likes, of the viewers. Everyone puts so much importance on the numbers, and it's just this society expectation to have millions of followers and millions of likes and all this comparison that I think many times is not there when you're public speaking, because you're more into the being energy when you're doing it.
Yeah.
But there is so much complexity in social media and comparison. So tell me about the external validation piece of this too, which goes back to the I'm not enough and all this storytelling in our mind.
So I remember a post that it's still out there. I'd left it.
By
And
the way, follow Aileen in Instagram. What's your Instagram, Aileen?
it's at Aileen Aime, which I know you'll put in the show notes.
Yes,
And
I
I've
will.
been very consistent. I'm very proud.
She posts the best content. You need to follow her like right now.
And I put a quote and it was like a little leaf and it got like very few likes compared to, because historically my page has been like personal things, whether I go to conferences, my family, Simba, my dog, my husband, and now it's transitioning into my coaching content. And I think the fact that I didn't get the response, I did a beautiful thing that we do as human beings, and I made it mean something about me. That was where, in my mind, I went wrong. Because when I posted, I used to close my phone. I was like, click share and then run away. And so, you know, what Instagram does, what the algorithm does, it's an entirely different story. But I was trying to do it and I still had this anxiety within me. And then when I went back, because I just left it up to the technology to whether it shows it to people or not, it wasn't showing it to people. It was low engagement, low numbers. And now I'm making it about me that the content was not good enough because I'm not good enough. And so it was this cycle of negative thoughts, intrusive thoughts that kept coming back to me. And it was until I made the decision to go deeper, which we found out a couple things later on. And one of those things was I made it mean something about myself. And I think that is a big shift of external validation versus why are you doing this? If you're going to serve this community, you know, how many posts have someone posted like a month ago and you're barely seeing it? And you love that video or you love that quote or you love that piece of content. And that person that created it is not thinking, is Yanet gonna see it today? Is Yanet gonna see it tomorrow? Like they're just putting it out there because they know whoever's gonna see it at whatever point in time is gonna get value out of it. And so I think that was the big shift of chasing the numbers for my own personal validation. It's a different focus as if I'm doing this, posting this piece of content to serve my community. And I think that was one of the biggest shifts that helped me find a new track that I didn't know existed because I've never been the content creator, which led me to the second point. If you don't think your identity is to do the thing they're about to do, you're never going to be able to consistently do it. And so it wasn't until I said to myself, I am a coach, I am X, I am a content creator, then embodying that identity made it so much easier for me to execute whatever I wanted to do. And so I think the identity piece is something that I thought I just need to do it and push through it. And it was not very trauma informed, you know, because there were so many other layers I needed to work on before I could embody that new identity to allow me to step into that made it fit easy and that it came naturally rather than just brute forcing it. And so I think those two things have allowed me to actually support my nervous system, support my mind, and be able to serve my community from a more creating energy standpoint point of view rather than I just need to do it and very much doing energy.
So many gold nuggets right there. The first one is like this reminder, like you said, of self versus serve, right? Like instead of focusing on yourself in survival mode, which in public speaking can happen, in Instagram can happen, in podcasts. I was laughing when you said that you would post and close the app because honestly, I've done so many times with LinkedIn the same thing. I'm like, I'm gonna post this. I don't want to see who likes it or what they say. It's such a funny human behavior that sometimes we think that we are the only ones, but we are all doing the same thing, struggling with similar things. So it's so funny that you gave that specific example because I resonated so much with that. But the self versus serve, when you put the intention of, hey, I'm here to serve, it's not about me. I think it's so powerful. And I also remind myself of how many restaurants that we have loved, like have we gone to and we haven't left a single review. I think I've left 2 reviews in my life. And I know there are people that consistently leave reviews. I'm the worst at that. But it doesn't mean that we didn't like it. We loved it. We just didn't leave a review. And the same thing is with Instagram, LinkedIn. The likes, they don't mean much, to be honest with you, as long as you're serving and your intention is from that place. I think it's really powerful. And the identity piece, such an important part, because it is true. It's different saying, hey, I want to be a coach, that I am a coach. And I remember the moment in my life where I felt comfortable. At first, I felt like, oh my God, I sound so fake. Like, I don't believe this. But there is a moment as you continue this transformational path where you start embodying and embracing that identity. So I think that's so powerful.
And I'll tell you a story about that. When I started coaching, I already had my curriculum, I already had my program. I was coaching my first few clients, and my husband, going back to the community piece, was so excited for me. He was so proud. He was like in it, supporting me. He was anyone we interacted with, Eileen's doing this and she's coaching and she's learning about this and she's implementing that. And I would be literally next to him thinking like, wow, I mean, A, this guy really loves me. And then B, why can I speak about that myself? Why can he say Eileen's a coach, Eileen's this, Eileen's that, she's doing this? What can I do that? And so I think that was very helpful for me embodying the identity of that. And it was, to me, funny now in hindsight. He was able to say Eileen's a coach before I could say, hey, I'm a coach. And I think a lot of times is the other way around. You have to believe in whatever you're doing before other people can believe in you. And whatever the situation might be, could it be A or it could be B. But I think until I was comfortable with saying I'm a coach, or I am a content creator, I am a CEO, whatever the word might be for you, until that point, it's going to be a little bit harder than until you remove the layers that are blocking you to fully embodying that it's going to feel more natural. Because if the thought is in your heart, if the thought has come to you of this is your purpose, this is what you're meant to be, there's always going to be a little bit of conflict until you actually do it, and then it's going to feel easy. It's not to following your purpose should not feel hard all the time. Of course, there's going to be periods in your business or your journey that it's going to be difficult, but not everything, not every single moment it's meant to feel hard. And I was making it hard on myself every single essence in the spectrum.
I think that's powerful. And you touch on a very important point, which is the people that you're surrounding yourself with. Like Rocky, your husband, he was like, oh yeah, she's a coach, right? Like so uplifting, so supportive, so energizing. Of course, me as your coach and your future coaches, we have been like, yeah, you can do that. So supportive, so energizing. I have my own coach, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I'll be able to get to that milestone. And she's like, yeah, you got there already. And I'm like, did I? I mean, are you sure? Because I don't see it yet. Yeah. So I think you also need, and there will be naysayers, okay? Like that's part of choosing an unconventional path and creating your path. Like that is totally normal. But the people that you choose to surround yourself with, it's so important, right?
And I'm going to share this story that you came up to me and wanted to show me a little bit more about a new program that you were coming up with and all the details. Since I had been through your type of coaching, I know how you operate and kind of what you were going for. And I remember that we were talking about pricing, and I told you that you were undercharging.
Yes.
And you were like what? You visibly, physically were so surprised. And so I also think that we can undersell ourselves for whatever reason, and it takes people around you to actually see the potential on whatever you're creating or whatever you're doing. And so I think community, it's a must.
I love that example so much because I mean, I feel, well, my coach feels I still could charge more. So, just for those out there, get advantage of what you get right now. But seriously, like, and it is a matter of your reference, the point of reference, the perspective, because people, it's such an interesting like a thing. Like coaching is a high ticket item, okay? Why? Because it has an end result, it has an end date, and it gets you results. That's the coach is your guide to get you those results. It's not an ongoing thing, because the coach doesn't want you to rely on that person forever or for years. It's giving you the tools, the skills, and that transformation and those results. Of course, it's an investment, but the return is way higher. And I've definitely worked through my money mindset, because like Aileen mentioned, I've undercharged several times. And let me tell you something, there are potential clients that you're still undercharging and they're like, no, that's too much. Of course, yeah. Well, guess what? That's going to happen in business too. And it's totally okay, because I think you gotta know your worth, and you gotta have that self-respect to stand for what you believe and stand for the value that you're giving to. So I think worthiness, it's huge also in entrepreneurship and having your business too. So yeah, I appreciate you being one of those people that were like, girl, come on, I know your value, I know the transformation and your investment, like you gotta go up. And I trusted her. Because honestly, I do take every feedback really seriously. And at the beginning, I may feel resistance, and a lot of times I feel resistance. But I think part of this work is to be open and really see all the angles, and do at the end what's better for the other person and yourself, and what you're doing in this world, which is really creating a legacy that empowers the world. That's what we are doing, Aileen and I.
From within.
From within. It starts inside out. So many people, and we have been there, and we are still there sometimes. We rely so much on the external to provide us that validation, like we were talking about with the likes from social media and all that stuff. But here's the thing, you can have 2 million followers, and if you still haven't worked on the inside, you are going to feel still that you're not worthy, that you're not enough, because it's not about the numbers, it's not about the external circumstance, it's about yourself, my friend. Would you agree with that, Aileen?
Yes, I 100% agree. And when you were talking about content, I have one video that it literally took me a minute and a half to create, and then I posted, and then I was in a rush, so I exited out because I was going from place to place, and it got like a lot of comments and shares and saves and everything, and I was like, effort does not equal engagement from the platform. And so that was one of the times that I said to myself, I've been overthinking content for so long, and it's been stopping me for I don't know how many years. And it reminded me of one of my other coaches said that content, it's a snowflake in a sheet of snow. And so once you put one piece of content, detach from it. Don't get obsessed over one single post, one single video, one single whatever you post. And it's supposed to be part of your digital footprint per se, but it like don't get attached to a single one. And imagine I was attaching to every single one back and forth, and that's why it wasn't sustainable. It wasn't out until I created from creating energy, posted out there from a place of servitude, and now I can detach from it, and I know it's going to land on their page of whoever needs to hear it at the ideal time, not when I want it an hour after I post it or whatever, crazy thoughts I used to have.
I love it. Letting go of the attachment to the outcome, but of control too, like surrendering to what is.
Yeah.
And you said something that made me think something else, and we have a few more minutes. But you are right. Overthinking also gets in the way of authenticity. Overthinking, over preparing, wanting to perform, wanting to be seen a certain way gets on the way of authenticity. And it's funny because the other day I did an IG live. Again, I didn't think about it. I was emotional. I'm like, whatever, people will see me cry. I mean, I cry a lot. I'm a crier, so it's gonna be fine. They'll know more about me. And I had my Kleenex next to me. And I did it from a place of authenticity. And I didn't know what the heck I was going to say while I was there. But just like you said, I didn't overthink it. I just did it to serve. And it was one of the IG lives that has gotten, I mean, the one that has gotten the most engagement. So talking about authenticity, what has been your journey to authenticity? And I think it's a lifelong journey, because even myself, I think I'm still transitioning from that corporate mindset where, yes, I was authentic, of course, but I still filter myself a little bit. And I think in entrepreneurship, authenticity is where service is. Like, being unfiltered is what really makes people feel connected, versus giving a presentation in corporate. You gotta be more measured, more
Yeah.
calculated in a way. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I definitely think that authenticity leads to vulnerability, and
Yeah.
vulnerability, it's like just being exposed, and that's what people connect to. Whether, I know the IG live that you were talking about, it was about something that we all have. We have probably a complicated relationship with our parents to some degree or another. And so I think that's why people resonated. And people might know or might not know about human design, but my human design is being the perfect human. And so
What's your
when you were,
number? I have mine here. Let me see if I can find it. What is your numbers? I think these are numbers. What are your
it
things?
is 6'2", my profile is 6'2", exemplary human, which means
Damn, that's
that
amazing.
I am a recovering perfectionist, and I've always been a high achiever. And so combine those two together, plus my fear of being seen, is just the perfect combination of chaos. And so my journey on being authentic, I think, was rooted on the identity piece, because I needed to be so sure of who I was about myself that being my authentic self did not feel that someone could hurt me as he was before, because now I know that the good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, everything in between, I knew that I had the capacity to love myself enough and accept myself enough that even though I honestly was afraid of the negative comments that could come from social media, that was one of also the big fears that I had. And so once I reconnected with myself, because I don't want to say fix myself, because it's not like we're broken. Once I reconnected to myself and was centered in that like cement pillar of identity, I honestly felt untouchable. Of even if a piece of content was so bad, cool.
Yeah,
I
and what
hope
is
it helps
bad
someone.
anyways, right? Yeah, what is bad? And those are the labels that we kind of create ourselves.
So I think accepting myself for who I was in this lifetime, with my curly hair, with glasses, no glasses, with my eyebrows, with my heart. Am I too passionate, not passionate enough? Like whatever the mixture is, I think that helped me be more vulnerable. And one thing that I recognized, Janet, is that I could no longer do like small talk. I started just getting
I
like
struggle with that
I
too.
I did not want to talk about the weather. I didn't want to talk about the small things. I'm like, what's your biggest insecurity? And it was
Sorry.
funny because like as I was transitioning to that, I was going to a recruiting event with students, and I was chit-chatting with one of my friends, and I was like, should I go up to the students and be like, hey, what's your biggest fear, and talk about that? And it was just so funny because, like, of course, I'm not going to do that in a recruiting event. But I mean, I love to talk about the deepness of ourselves, because that's really how we get to know ourselves, and how I get to know the heart of Janet, rather than, corporate Janet with a blazer and filters and everything built on top of it. And so I think being authentic, allowing ourselves to be authentic, means that we're going to be vulnerable. But the biggest thing that we can do for ourselves is to root ourselves and ground ourselves on, and that's who you are, and that's completely okay. That's the gift that you bring to the world. And I think that has what, you know, has made my life so much easier. I feel so much lighter waking up in the world. It just has transformed my life.
I love that. And that is so true. Oh my God. I was cracking up about the deep conversations because I remember going to a wedding, like it was one of Cody's friends. And we were taking this bus to the wedding venue, and I was sitting next to, like one of Cody's friends' wives. And I was like, she was there with her mimosa or something like that. And I was like, yeah, what's your purpose? And she looked at me like, what are you talking about? I'm here drinking, I'm relaxing. So answering those deep questions, which a lot of people haven't thought about, and that's okay, is going to get uncomfortable because we are not used to digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's the work. But I think it's so important to face it rather than avoid it, because the question will still be there. And I think the main purpose in this life is to get to know ourselves at a deeper level so we can serve from that authentic place. So I'm so excited. Oh my God, you're an
Yes, my
amazing
friend.
storyteller, my friend. I was like enjoying your stories. I'm like, oh my God, I can resonate with that so much. So hilarious. I love it. So there is someone listening out there, and they are like, okay, I want to find my purpose. I want to go deep. I want to feel all these things that you're saying, Aileen and Janet. What would be the first step that you would recommend our audience to take towards that path of self-mastery in a way?
I think the path of self mastery, self discovery starts with awareness, and awareness can be cultivated in a lot of different ways. I think for me, one of the biggest things that I think could have helped me a little bit more was whenever I have intrusive thoughts, to actually record them in a way. If you want to pull your iPhone notes and, type in, this just happened. I just said to myself, I'm not good enough. Who am I? Insert whatever it is. Or if it's your notebook, if you're more of a writer, if you don't like either of those, you can do a voice note. It's going to be very powerful to actually hear those things out. And I think the beauty of that is that a lot of times when you see it on paper, or when you hear it, you actually are able to challenge it. Of, if I say, I'm not smart enough, okay, do you have a degree on something? Do you have you ever figured out a problem? Like, what is the definition of whatever thought you're making? I think once it's outside of your beautiful brain of yours, it's so much easier to digest it and see if it's true or not. Because I think a lot of the patterns that we are unconsciously running on repeat are not true. And so if you have them actually documented in whatever way feels best for you, you're actually also able to see the patterns. And so I think awareness, it's the foundation on starting this beautiful path that I pray and I hope that for everyone it's a spiraling up like it has been for me. And it has what has helped me the most.
That's
What about
beautiful.
you?
And I love the combination of awareness and curiosity, because you mentioned like ask questions about it, like start getting curious. I think that that's an amazing advice, my friend. I'm so excited that I had you in this amazing podcast. I hope you had a lot of fun like I did.
It's always fun to talk to you. For those who don't know, Janet and I send voice memos that should be podcast episodes on their own. And so it's always to catch up and discuss these beautiful topics because like we said, we don't like to talk small talk. We
No,
like to go
we
deep.
we go deep quick, and I'm just so grateful that our paths got crossed and connected in a way we could have never imagined. And that was the start of a beautiful relationship and now this amazing friendship. So thank you so much for being here. Let everyone know, how can they find you if they want to work with you, if they want to ask a question. What's your social media? What is your website, or whatever you want to give? Just let us know.
Find me on Instagram. My profile is at Aileen Aime, AILEENAIME. It's my first and middle name, and that's where I hang out the most. And if you want to work with me, send me a DM, or there's also a link so we can chat more. And I am so happy to be here. This is my first of many on this podcast, and I am so excited to help you take whatever action you need to take to the next level.
I love that. Thank you so much. And follow Aileen. She has amazing content, and I'm going to put the link in the show notes. So thank you so much, Aileen, for being here again and sharing all your amazing wisdom and your transformational path. I'm so honored.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you, everyone. If you found this interview super impactful, share with your friends, your family. That's the only way that we can continue empowering this world. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening at With Clarity and Purpose. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Sharing is caring. Please share with your friends and family so we can continue building an empowered community together. I'll see you next week.